Often described as the heartbeat of the nation, Edo State is a richly endowed state carved out of the former Midwestern region of Nigeria. Widely known across the world for its arts and culture, it is also a hotbed of economic activity. The second edition of the Alaghodaro Summit brought together business, political, and traditional leaders with a view to interrogate the state's efforts in three primary areas: education, health, and job creation. Hosted by Godwin Obaseki, the Edo State Governor, the three-day event kicked off with a job fair, women's summit, and concert. And after a weekend of ceremonies to celebrate the second anniversary of the Godwin Obaseki-led administration, local and foreign delegates joined the host community to review the economic and development programs of the state government, even as it unveils reforms and initiatives designed to create opportunities for prosperity for the Edo people.
Recently, it was reported that Nigeria has become the poverty capital of the world. That is not acceptable. About 45% of our population live in extreme poverty, and we must conquer this poverty. Each subnational must look inwards, and we must devise sustainable means of achieving inclusive growth. Edo State, under Godwin Obaseki, will show the way to the other states, and we will contribute significantly to pulling Nigeria into the first world.
Last year, our first outing was titled Envisioning the Future, thinking about what Edo should be. And one of the things we came up with was, first, we needed to create jobs through industrialization, through investments in agriculture, and through investments in infrastructure. But down the line, we then realized that all of these are not attainable if you do not have the right resources, the human capacity to drive all of this. I mean, the human capacity is required to provide not only the know-how, but also the markets you're trying to develop. And so we just thought, okay, it's time to think deeper, how to achieve our goals, our set out goals. We therefore need to place more emphasis, think more about the human capacity, the human resources, not just for the immediate, but also for the long term.
Most of the time these days we talk about physical infrastructure. Whilst that is important, we even believe social investment, social infrastructure is even more important. So that's why things like education, primary health care, these are areas that are actually so key. Job creation. I mean, this state, unfortunately, we have had issues with illegal immigration. We have been a big part of that. So having these as central themes in this summit to encourage investors primarily to think of these areas as well as we are thinking of investments in the state, I think is absolutely very important.
The summit is a welcome one to mark the second year anniversary of the administration of Godwin Obaseki, the governor of Edo State. It's particularly important because the governor have done wonderfully well. His coming to Edo is a blessing to the people of Edo State. He has transformed Edo, virtually turned the state to a construction site. He has touched virtually every sector of the state. Education, infrastructural development, name it. For the first time, a state government is thinking about having a seaport. That is the Gelegele seaport. That after the completion, thousands of people will be employed. The multiplier effect is numerable.
One of the cardinal pronunciamento, if you like, call it manifesto, of the governor when he mounted the campaign podium inter alia was it was going to create jobs. He promised he was going to create 200,000 jobs. It is salutary to note that as at today, the governor has delivered on 77,200 jobs in the Edo Job Years program in less than 2 years.
The first of three panel discussions reviewed the crucial role of education and skills development in the state and the strategies that the government had put in place to secure the future of its citizens.
Part of improving or part of progressing It's not doing the same thing over and over and over again when you know it hasn't worked. So Governor Obaseki has told us or given us the instruction that we cannot just go and start building the hardware, which is the school. We need to also focus on the software. We need to focus on training our teachers. We need to focus on the fact that our community have a strong sense of ownership and stakeholdership in what is happening in our primary schools.
It's possible to connect teachers with world-class quality support and resources, scientific-based approaches to learning, and to digitally disseminate that type of teaching and learning directly into thousands of classrooms and thousands of communities all across a state or a country. That's something that without the use of technology is very difficult to accomplish, and we're already starting to see the successes of it here in Edo.
People have wrong perception, but we need reorientation, and that reorientation cannot be done by the governor single-handedly or the governor and his team. Critical stakeholders must be brought on board, particularly the mass media.
The second panel discussion was focused on healthcare and was preceded by a presentation by Nigeria's health minister, who highlighted the progress that the Edo State Government was making to address its enormous healthcare challenge.
I also want to commend His Excellency for the achievement in the health sector, the revitalization of 20 PHCs, and we are still counting. And it is not just that we are investing in physical structure, but we are also making them functional. And we are also appreciating His Excellency for the investment in secondary care, in providing resources through the state insurance health scheme. And we must thank you for focusing on health, because hitherto the focus has always been on infrastructure, bridges. But sir, many countries that have recorded tremendous improvement in socioeconomic conditions had prior improvement in their health indicators. This is true for Malaysia, Indonesia. They recorded improvement in health indicators, and therefore this led to improvement in their socioeconomic conditions.
We are almost through with the first 20 that we are renovating. And these first 20, I can tell you, as you have seen in some of the photographs that were shown, they are approaching the standard we are looking forward to. And from time to time we go, and when we check, we discover that this is not the state the governor wants it to be. Then we will improve on it again. And before this month end, the governor is going to tour around some of them to see, like the governor said, any health center that he cannot go to and be treated, he will not allow Edo citizens to also go there.
We've got to recognize, whether we like it or not, up to 90% of care is given by non-doctors. You know, it's something, you know, by community health workers, by midwives, by nurses. They give care. You know, and when you create care pathway to help them standardize their care and make sure the care given is safe for patients, you will then be able to extrapolate all that data, analyze that data, and it will help you to plan for the future.
The last panel discussion at the summit explored initiatives designed to create dynamic systems that achieve long-term impact in job creation in the state.
We've been creating jobs using 4 major ways. The first is job matching. Job matching comes in where we work with employers to identify their gaps, their vacancies, and then bring the candidates closer to them. So it doesn't matter what area, what local government that you want to employ, whatever kind of person in Edo State, you just need to get in touch with Edo Jobs, and we are able to find the people you need and even train them to meet your requirements.
We do have a team that looks at what we call subnational doing business reforms. Please, Your Excellency, get your people to work with them. They will help you be competitive globally in terms of inviting business to Edo. And once they come to Edo, the whole Nigeria is their oyster.
Some delegates also reflected on the conference and its theme.
We are driving for an enlightened society, but more importantly, the creation of human capacity. So capacity building. So through education, capacity building is achieved. And so there'll be a pool of well-educated, properly trained people. Everything does not have to end in PhDs, but in terms of the educational strategy, you can also have people who are technically trained so that businesses have a pool from where they can draw to be able, in terms of personnel.
The reality is that our biggest challenge today is employment. All the issues we face around security, all the instability arises from employment. But at the same time, the opportunity lies in the fact that we have a labor force that can be put to use, whether it is in building our infrastructure or it's in providing the workforce for the health sector or the education sector. This is something that every state in Nigeria should be thinking about. How do we create jobs? But what I like the most about the approach in Edo State is that they are very focused in enabling the private sector to create these jobs.
We want to show the world what we've done with basic education. We are actually retooling and redefining basic education in Nigeria by emphasizing proper governance of our schools, investment in teachers, and using technology to drive education at that level. All of this will cascade in a few years' time into a better workforce, better students who can appreciate the global context in which they'll exist. We expect to also emphasize and attract attention to what we're doing in the areas of technical education, because that is the core to providing jobs. We've retooled our technical colleges, we put investments in, we're looking at our colleges of agriculture, and in doing all of these and making all of these investments, the key is to try and see how you can partner with the private sector, because these jobs, these trainings are not for the consumption of government per se. They are meant to help support and drive investments from private people.
By most accounts, Alaghodaro 2018 was a huge success as it cast the spotlight on the biggest social issues impacting the Edo people. It is expected that the discussions held at the summit will catalyze greater action towards education, healthcare, and the creation of jobs, ushering a new era of peace and prosperity to the ancient city of Benin and the broader Edo State.